Every time that he speaks to me, making me believe everything that he sees in me, it feels like I'm falling and I'm doing it way too easily.
What's going on, everybody? I am Lenci. Welcome to Chasing the Music. Today we have a poet, spoken word artist, all of the things. Her name is Jackie Naomi. And y'all know I don't like long intros, so let's just go ahead and get into it. So, Jackie, tell us, who are you, where are you from, and what do you do as a creative?
Well, first, I want to say thank you for having me. Were the first person to tap me into doing anything in Atlanta, do my first show. So I really want to say thank you. And this is my first kind of like interview or podcast episode like this. So also thank you for this opportunity. So as you already said, I am Jackie Naomi. I am a poet, actress, spoken word artist, all the things. I started doing poetry at 8 years old and been performing since I was 16. Currently, I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia. I am from Connecticut, so that's where I got like my start in performing arts sector. And right now I'm currently waiting to hear back from a couple of publishers to have my first book of poems released. So that's a little bit about me and just like where I'm at right
Hey.
now.
We love that. We love to see it. We love to see each other shine. So you do spoken word. So you do spoken word as a performance, and you also write. Because we're
Yeah.
talking about, okay, so you are therefore a spoken word artist and a
And the
poet.
poet.
Okay.
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about like how you combine both. Did you start writing first or performing first?
So I started writing poetry first. So when I was 8 years old, I had a therapist because I'm adopted. I had I had a therapist who basically told me a good mechanism for me to kind of cope through some of the things and feelings I was having was journaling. And I'm a yapper, so journaling was cool.
Ooh.
Journaling was really cool, and I was like, yeah, but like I feel like somebody needs to hear this. Like I can't just write
Mm.
it down. And that's when I kind of discovered poetry. So the first poet I ever read was Maya Angelou, Dr. Maya Angelou. She's been an inspiration to me ever since. And I kind of heard about her story about her childhood trauma and how it inspired her creativity and her writing as well. Um, you know, she saw some injustices and had some injustices done onto her as a child, and it forced her to go silent for a period of time. And when she came out of that silence is when she started doing poetry, and learning that as an 8 year old, 10 year old, I was like, okay, this could be my thing. So I started writing poetry, and then from there I got into performing. I've been performing like acting since I was 8 as well, but I didn't know like, oh, there's this whole other like there's this way I can incorporate my love of poetry and my love of
Right.
performance, and that is the art of spoken word. So yeah,
We love that.
they kind of came in tandem together.
We love that. We love using art to be relational and to express ourselves. Art makes me feel like I'm never alone. There's always a
Yeah,
song or a person or some type of creative outlet where I see somebody doing something like, oh, like I can see myself doing that. Oh, like they talking about me, so I really,
absolutely.
really love that. I always ask everybody on these, how did we meet? Like, what is your like? What was how was meeting me? Like, how did that come together? For those of y'all who don't know, not to answer part of your question, whenever I have a show, I like to incorporate a poet or a spoken word artist because I feel like that's an area of art that doesn't get a lot of love, doesn't get a lot of publicity. But being a black woman, I tried to educate myself on black art, and I know that black folklore and spoken word and poetry is your part of the revolution, is part of the liberation that has been
Absolutely.
forever. So that's why I try to show love to the poet. So anyways, I'm a yapper too, obviously. When I had my first show in Atlanta, I had Jackie Naomi open up for me. And that's kind of like, I like to add poets or spoken word artists as the opener to give people something different, but also to shout out to the craft. But yes, how do we meet?
Absolutely.
Let's get the question
Yes.
started.
So awesome. No, so for those who may or may not know, Lindsay is also a member of the most amazing sorority in the world as I am. She is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. We are both HBCU graduates.
Yes.
How we met is serendipitous. We both graduated or we're leaving our respective places after COVID. You're leaving North Carolina, I'm leaving at the time Michigan, and we both applied to this place called Georgia State University to work in the housing department. I was a resident hall director, and Lenci was the assistant hall director for the same hall. We moved in about a week apart from each other. But when I moved in, I was like, I saw an AKA license plate, and I'm like, okay, good people. At least I know, like, you know,
right.
Really excited to meet her. And we've been locked in ever since. So we lived across the hall from each other for almost a year.
7, 8 months.
Yeah. So, not you know exactly how long you stayed.
Yeah, 7, 8 months.
So yeah, we met in July of 2021 at our job, and we connected on the fact that obviously we're both HBCU graduates, both members of the same organization, and both new to Atlanta. And then we've then found out, oh, you have this amazing talent and craft and art. I want to pour into that. How can I tap you into things? And that's kind of been our story ever since. So very thankful that Georgia State brought me people like you. We are neither one of us are at State anymore, which is great, but very thankful that State didn't leave me in that way.
Right, yeah. Well, Jackie is amazing, y'all. Definitely check out her stuff. Be sure to send me any links or anything you want the people to know so I can put it in the description.
Absolutely.
Next question. I know that from the performances that I've seen, you talk a lot about self-love or self-empowerment or different romantic situations that you've been through. Share a moment or experience that deeply impacted your perspective on self-love that inspired your poetry.
Oh, that's a really great question.
Let me make it shorter. What is a experience that relating to self-love that impacted maybe a poem that you wrote or performed?
Absolutely. That's a really great question. I would have to say, so one of my first to whom it may concern. So a bit about me. This is a little tangent, but I'm gonna get us back. Please follow along, guys. So
we following. We locked in. We locked in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I start all my poems off to whom it may concern. I think that every poem is a letter to someone. And if the topic or the message of the piece resonates with you, then it concerns you, and it's for you. But that being said, my very first piece I ever wrote, entitled To Whom It May Concern, was a self-love piece, and it's about finding love through God, and finding and knowing that you are complete as a person prior to that love coming into your life. And so the experience that actually shaped that poem, I was a sophomore in undergrad, and anybody who's been in college, you know, dating in college, it can be a hit or miss situation. Dating in general, really.
Yeah, dating in general.
You know, it doesn't necessarily get better after you get out of college. But in college, especially, you know, dating is it's a very hard thing to navigate. I'm a Cancer, so I resonate with the fact that I'm a lover girl. Like, I love the idea of love. I've always loved. And in college, my sophomore year, I was dating this guy, or I considered us dating. We were not dating. And I found myself constantly being in the situation where I thought it was one thing, but it wasn't. And I had to ask myself, like, why am I not worthy of love? Why am I not getting the love that I'm, you know, that I'm seeking? And I went to Bethune-Cookman University, which is a faith-based institution. We have a chapel on our campus. And I used to go pretty much my first 2 years of college every day for like an hour and just sit and talk to God in the chapel. And literally like like a conversation like how we're having, like not necessarily prayer, but like I just felt very connected to him in that space. So I went after the last situation with the guy, and I went and talked to him. I was like, okay, I'm feeling unloved, unworthy of love. And I just got a message while I was in there that, you know, the love that you're seeking is around you. It's in you. You already have that love. Like you're looking for something that is literally already in your life. And that's why, and because you're not seeing it, that's why you're lacking it. And that's why you're putting yourself in this situation. So like having that experience really taught me like, hey, you don't need people to feel like people don't make you complete. God's already made you complete. You
Hallelujah.
okay?
Come on,
He's
come
made you whole, and that is a beautiful thing. Like it's nice to have people to supplement you, and great to have people to help you on your journey and go along the journey with you. But ultimately, you don't need you don't need to have that romantic love to have love in your life. And I think to me, once I realized that, loving myself became even more easy and greater. And also knowing like how much God loves me. Like how can I not love me when God loves me so much that he has created this life for me, created all these opportunities for me. Like if I don't love me, if I want other people to love me, how can I not love myself, right? Because how we love ourselves is how we teach people to love us. So that's what I would say. Like that kind of experience taught me that, and a lot of my poems do resonate with that. Though some of them are about the romantic love that didn't work out, or that did work out, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, that was a really great question though. I haven't thought about that in a while.
Well, that was a phenomenal answer. We loved it. We loved it. He snaps. He snaps. He snaps. No, we love that. Definitely, I definitely resonate with that. I think it's good to have poems like you said about the situations that don't work out because unfortunately, the reality of the situation is life is full of tragedy sometimes. And I
Yeah.
think that if, all artists only made the love song where they get married and they never break,
Right.
they never have anything, then we wouldn't have anything to relate to. So, and also we appreciate you for being open and honest and vulnerable in this space, because you didn't have
Absolutely.
to break it down like that, but you did. You broke it down like a fraction. So
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Love that.
Yeah, we're gonna be. This is family, so we're talking like
Right,
family.
right,
Yeah,
right, right.
absolutely. Yeah.
Love that. So like one of the questions that I always ask people, and I'm always very interested in everyone's answer because they have all been different, and I thought they were all going to be the same. But what do you think is your biggest challenge trying to become a full-time creative? What has
Mm.
your biggest challenge or your biggest obstacle been from you starting your art to you know trying to get to be able to do it full time? What is your biggest challenge?
I think for me personally, it's probably like that self doubt. And thinking like, do I have a product, a thing that people care enough about that
Mm.
I could bet on myself and risk it all? I think self doubt a little bit of imposter syndrome. I'm trying to get over that in 2025. Where I'm like, y'all gonna get this art, and I don't care if it's annoying. I don't care if I'm posting too much. Like, I have to be delusional enough to believe that there are people who are waiting for me to drop a video today. There's somebody waiting for me to drop a poem. Like I have to think that because the self-doubt has stopped me a lot from being a full-time content creator. That, and then on a more serious, well, not that's a serious note, but on a equally as impactful note, finance.
Thank you. Nobody has said that. I'm like,
Like if we can't,
are
like,
y'all rich?
I'm not rich. I have a master's degree, and you would think, and I work a full time job, and you would think that with that type of security, you would have the money and the means to really lock in and do what you need to do to be able to eventually quit the job and be a full time creator. But it's bills got to get paid. If you get sick, you need to be able to go to the doctors. And unfortunately, when you are an independent creative, you don't have things like healthcare benefits. You don't have things like, you
Right.
know, disaster relief or financial relief if something happens. Like those things aren't built into your systems just yet. So it can become a strain. And I think for a lot of creatives, like the ability to eat sometimes takes precedent over the ability to create.
Absolutely.
And yeah, for me, that's been the self doubt, and then coupling it with the fact that I just don't have the money to really like quit my job and pursue it full time the way I want to, at least yet. And that's why we have these opportunities. You start small, you work way up. You hear these stories, and some people, they risk it all, and they're able to do it, and that is great. That is amazing. And majority of us, that's not going to be our story, right? And I accept that. So yeah.
Right. Love that. And I love that honesty, because people are like, oh, just trying to figure stuff out. I'm like, no, like money, like people already don't take art seriously, like explicitly.
Mm-hmm.
But art is, and I was talking to Don Chi about this, like, for me, music is the soundtrack of my life. There's
Yeah.
so many different moments where, I'm like, dang, I feel so alone, or I'm questioning things, and like India Ari was always there, she
Yeah.
was always there, she always
Always.
reassured me. So I think that
Mm-hmm.
like it is serious, whether it's like music, production, film, acting, poetry, spoken word, painting, sculpture,
Mm-hmm.
dancing, whatever, like art really is incredibly impactful.
It
Um,
is.
and I wish that people took it more seriously, so that, artists really could, monetize off of that. If capitalism is going to continue to be a thing, if we live in a different
Not
world with updated costs, maybe, it's another conversation. But, we're here. So,
we're in this one, and this one is very capitalistic, and being able
right.
to eat and pay bills is very important, unfortunately.
Right. Um, I think you may have answered this next one earlier a little bit.
Hmm.
What was the moment where you were like, you know what? I'm gonna pursue this the rest of my life. I'm gonna pursue this. Like, what was the take us back to the moment where, poetry and spoken word went from being something for you to just express yourself and come home to yourself, to something that's like, you know what? Career. I'm about to attack it. I'm about to do this what I want to do.
So that's really, so people, I know I said I've been doing this since I was 8, and I like performing since 16. I didn't know that poetry was going to be what it was in my life until, I would say, last year.
Hmm.
If I'm being completely honest, and I know that's probably gonna shock some people like who listen to this. They're gonna be like, you've been performing and doing stuff for all this time. Poetry was another creative outlet for me. So my first love of performing arts is acting. My first degree is in theater, and I still very much want to pursue that as well. But that for a long time was my main goal. Like, I'm going to be an actress. I'm going to be a director, a screenwriter. Like, that's my avenue into the creative world. I didn't really start taking it serious. Like, I knew I wanted to write a book when I was in undergrad. But that was just like, I want to write a book, like release it, like not be a full-time poet every day. Um, last year I was shifting jobs. Financial situation was at its probably all-time low, transparent moment. And I think when you when you're struggling, you really have to ask yourself the tough questions on what you need, what you really want, what's going to actually make you happy. Not what's going to satisfy you in the moment, but what's truly going to bring you peace and happiness. And I think I'm thankful for the struggle from last year, because I was able to overcome that and be able to say, hey, this is what I want to do. Like, not only is it a means of, hopefully it will be a means of making money, but it literally makes me heal. Like, I honestly brings me joy to be able to, whenever I'm like feeling something or experiencing something, to write it out and come up with a way of explaining it so that other people can understand a little bit about how I'm feeling. Or when people ask me like, hey, can you write me this piece? Being able to connect with somebody and tell a story for them that resonates with them is something I'm always thankful that God has, put on my heart and gave a talent in me. So I would say, yeah, last year, just struggling, realizing, hey, you got to ask yourself these tough questions. What's happiness look like? And happiness is performing, is writing books, is having moments like this with my friends where I'm able to connect and talk to them about what I'm working on and what they're doing. And moments like opening up for you at your first show in Atlanta. So yeah.
Awesome. We just gonna change the name of the video to Going Deep with Jackie Naomi. That's what we're gonna do.
I know we're getting real into it. I'm sorry,
That's what we're
everybody.
gonna do. That's what we're gonna do. So we have two questions left.
Okay.
So one of them is what advice would you give to another creative who is also on their journey trying to do their art full time? What is some advice that you would give them?
Don't be afraid of isolation. I think that sometimes as creatives, we think that we need to be tapped in with what's going on in the world and going on around us and other people in order to be tapped in, to get tapped. But sometimes you need that isolation, those periods and times where, and it doesn't mean like you're isolated and you're necessarily like writing or singing or working on it. Like sometimes that isolation can just be you taking the time to, like I said, for me, thinking about what happiness actually looked like, thinking about what joy looked like, what peace would look like in my life. Having those isolating moments are really important to center and give you your why. I think a lot of times we develop whys, and then once we have them, we just think that that's it forever. And that's my why, and I'm just going to keep moving on. But having those isolated moments where you're able to sit down and evaluate without the noise of other people, external sources, is really important because it helps you find your own voice as an artist, truly. And I think that that's really important before you, whenever you do anything, when you're transitioning in life, like to have like some isolation. I'm not saying to be isolated always, but it does not hurt not to be, don't be afraid of the moments where it seems like I'm on my own, or I'm doing this alone, or I'm pulling on my own instincts, because those are the best instincts. Like your instincts on your art are going to be the number one instincts that you should be going off of. And it's hard, like I said, it can be really hard when a lot of people are talking to you or a lot of voices are coming in to know what your voice is. So sometimes you need that isolation. So don't be afraid.
Amen. We love that. We love that. So we have made it to the end. We are on our last question. What is a poem or a poetry book or something that you would recommend to people? You know, what is something
Yes.
you'd recommend?
Okay, so can I do a two part?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Funny enough, so these were my January reads. So this first book is by Rupi Akur. I think I said that right.
Oh, yeah. I've seen them on Instagram. I don't know how to
Yes,
pronounce that name either, but yeah.
this is her most recent book out of the series. She has three right now. Of Milk and Honey, The Sun and Her Flower, and then Homebody. And Homebody really explore. And for me, I really recommend this read as a poetry book or poetry lover if you're a poet, because it talks about a lot of it. A lot of the themes in here are once you've reached like a certain level of success, what does your art look like from there? Do you still treat your art with the same care? Do you expect yourself to be somebody now better or greater because you've reached this level of success? And is that right? Is that fair to ask of yourself? Or are you as successful as you are now as you were then? Like it really explains a lot of what I think artists like, especially people who I've talked to who have like, this is my first EP and this is like the response that it got, and now I'm scared to drop my next one because I don't know if this is going to live up to that. So I really, if you ever like question your journey as an artist, if you're on the right track, if you're creating things that are good, I think this is really good. It spoke to me a lot. And then this book is amazing. I recommend to anybody, whether you go to college or not. I know it says for debates to dialogue in classrooms in life, but that in life is really important. So it's called Try to Love the Questions.
Okay.
And this book explores the idea that we should not be seeking the answers all the time, but being okay to sit in not knowing. being okay with asking the questions that need to be asked, even if they're difficult questions, and knowing that just because somebody's answer doesn't align with like an answer we would give, that doesn't make them a bad person, that doesn't make you a bad person, doesn't make them right, doesn't make you right. And I think it's really important as people that we really, especially as artists, you try to love the questions. I think a lot of times we tell ourselves as artists that we are creating the answers, right? Like we are bringing life to the answers that a lot of people are questioning in their minds, which is true. But we have a lot of unanswered questions for ourselves as well as artists, and it's okay to have those, right? Like it's okay to. So yeah, these are two books I would recommend. Poetry, and then this is like a nonfiction, nonfiction. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we love that. Thank you for the recommendations. And yeah, that is it. We have reached the end of
Oh, this was so
our
fun.
session. So yeah, once again, shout out to everyone in the Wildflower Collective on Patreon. Shout out to everyone on Instagram, YouTube, wherever y'all see this. And Jackie, Naomi, thank you so much for joining us. It has been all the pleasure, all of the honor. Absolutely adore you. And we are wishing you the best with all of your future endeavors.
Thank you all for having me. Amazing what you're doing, Lenci. Keep it up. Thank you for having me. And I can't wait to see the next episodes come out, who you have next as guests. I think what you're doing is really amazing and really important. People always want to network up, but I think we all have very large networks if we just open our eyes and reach our hands out to the people that are around us. So thank you for always having me in your network and always tapping me in when you can.
Always. Peace out, y'all.
Every time that he speaks to me, making me believe everything that he sees in me, it feels like I'm falling and I'm doing it way too easily.